Is it really the case that all car journalists hate car YouTubers? Am I really an influencer? I hate that term, but is that really what I do? Or should I call myself a YouTuber? How effective are we? These are all great questions, and I need a dog walk to answer them. Hey guys, and welcome to Petrol. And welcome to another dog walk. Really? Coat on? Coat on? You got your collars on? Oh really? Oh! Come on then. Do you need all of that? I don't know. Oh, I think the girls are excited. Now normally when I choose to do a dog walk video it's a nice sunny day, but it's really foggy this morning. I feel like I'm walking through a cloud, so sorry, no views in the background. But there are a couple of things that have spurred me to do this video today. Firstly, Sam from Seen Through Glass on his recent Behind the Glass podcast actually talked about the subject of, if you like, the clash between car YouTubers and proper automotive journalists, whatever that means. And I was quite chuffed to get a bit of a mention in that podcast, because I remember Sam 5 years ago was one of the YouTubers that really inspired me to start my channel. He was the first YouTuber I ever met. Way back in the day, I met him at a car meet at Goodwood, and I've met him subsequent times since. So I wanted to explore that subject because it's one I really do have quite a few things to say on. And then the other thing is my recent video in support of my best mate's brewery and the offer that we did, and the response to that really made me want to have a conversation about the term influencer. I think it's a term that we hear a lot, probably is quite misunderstood. And my question is, am I really an influencer? Am I comfortable with that title? Honestly, I don't know. So that's why I thought it'd be good to have a chat about it. You're always jumping up and down. Okay, let's start with the influencer conversation and we'll move on to journalists. Now, I never started YouTube to become an influencer. I don't think I ever started YouTube to become a journalist or an automotive journalist. I just started it for a bit of fun. I got a camera, I started making some videos about my passion, and my passion is cars and driving and motorsport. And I live so close to Goodwood, and there were so many opportunities for me to create content on those subjects. That's my big motivator, and I thought if I got to drive some great cars, that would be even better. And that's why I started out. But what happens? A couple of things happen as your channel starts to grow, and first it takes a long time. You know, I'm now 5 years in. The 1st of January 2021 will be my 5-year anniversary as being a YouTuber. It's taken a long time to get to where I am. But as you start to grow your channel, one of the things I've tried really hard at is to grow, not just put videos up, but to grow a community of people that watch those videos, interact with them, and grow together and share my experiences with those people. That's you, my lovely peddlers. And as that community starts to grow, and generally you've all got a common interest, be it cars or particular brands of cars like Audi or Mini. I know many of you like bikes. You start to think, well, actually there's an audience there that wants specific types of content. And you then start to think, well, how do I monetize my YouTube channel? Because it takes a huge amount of time and effort to make YouTube videos. Each 20-minute video on a Monday and a Friday, you're looking at potentially up to a day of filming and a good 5 or 6 hours of editing twice a week. Midweek 180 doesn't take very long. So you need to try and think, how am I going to monetize it? So yes, I get YouTube ad revenue, and I've done videos on the channel before about how that works. But the other way is to work with brands and expose your audience to those brands. Now, there's a few things you need to bear in mind about how you do that. So let's talk about which brands you choose and how that works. Go on, dog. You have to jump up all the time. So I'm going to start with my mate Jonathan and Snowden Craft Beer, my video from last week. The reason I work with Jonathan is quite obvious. He's a good mate of mine and he needed help. His business had been massively affected by the COVID-19 restrictions in Wales. 85% of his sales disappeared overnight. And we had a bit of a interaction on WhatsApp. And I said, look, mate, why don't we do a video on my channel? I've got a big audience. I'm sure many of them like beer. It's coming up to Christmas. And we'll do a video and we'll talk about your problem. And then we'll put some offer, because an offer often kind of encourages people to buy. It's called a call to action. We'll do a discount and we'll just see what happens. You know, if we get a few boxes of beer ordered, that's a good thing. And in that case, there was no financial incentive for me to do that whatsoever. I got nothing in return for that. I just wanted to try and help out. And we did the video, and quite honestly, the response to that video has been so overwhelming for me. It kind of motivated me to do this video. People were so open and supportive and lovely. The orders rolled in. We crashed his website, we broke his stock ordering system, and the poor guys that worked from the next day literally spent the whole day. I think he was saying he was in at 5 and left at 6:30, and he was packing beer all day. It was an amazing response, and the orders are still coming in, and PED20 discount code is still working. I shall put the links below, and the beer is excellent. The beer shipped literally 24 hours later. I was getting messages from you guys who'd ordered saying you got the beer and how lovely it was. And for me, that's what an influencer is, right? That's somebody who's used the exposure, the audience for good, for a good reason. And that's number one. That made me think, well, actually, this influencer thing, maybe I'm comfortable being called that. Maybe that's what I am. I'm able to help people out, and I'd love to do more. I guess in the past we had our amazing day when we surprised Felix at Goodwood, and again that was the same thing. There was no financial motivation to do that. It was just a good thing to do, and the response was amazing, absolutely amazing. So I want to try and do more of that. So if you like, the use of my audience, of you guys, when appropriate, to help people out. However, at the same time as that, I do work with brands where I do get financial benefits from exposing those brands to you and offers and so on. So let me explain how that works. Come on, dude. What do you like? So if we go back a few years, I remember I kind of thought, this YouTube thing's interesting. As I started to get to a certain size, emails started to arrive in my inbox from brands wanting to put their products and services on my channel. And I thought, well, that's quite interesting. But then you actually look at what the product is and you think, it's got no relevance to my audience whatsoever. And I'm so protective of you because I've spent such a long time, hours and hours and hours of time and effort to build my community. The last thing I want to do is annoy you by putting something in front of you that doesn't really resonate or isn't appropriate. So, you know, of all the brands I get approaching me, probably I only pick maybe, I don't know, 1 in 20, maybe not even that. And then the way it works is, and again, there's some different options here. Sometimes I get no financial incentive, but whatever the product is, I get to keep it, and then I can offer some kind of discount on that product for you. So it's a kind of win-win. I get something, maybe it's a product for free or at a reduction in cost. You get something, you get a discount on a product that you might want to buy, and the brand gets something because hopefully I generate sales. And I'm not going to go through the details in this video, but I've got plenty of examples of brands I've worked with who've generated a huge amount of sales and been really happy with that tie-up. And I think that's That's the thing. Sometimes those promotions I'll get a proportion of sales. Sometimes I'll just get a thing for free. Sometimes I'll actually physically get paid for doing an advert on the channel. And I think the problem with some brands is they have no concept of how much that channel audience is worth. Actually, I think sometimes, I don't think we necessarily are as well. It's a very difficult thing to quantify. But when you have successful products, if I choose the right product and it's placed in the right way, then it can be very, very successful for me, for the brand, and I guess ultimately for you, because you guys get some kind of discount. And that, if that's not an influencer, then, you know, influencer, I'm still not comfortable with that term, but I guess we're helping you understand some new products or some new services, and you're engaging with them. So if that makes me an influencer, that's all well and good. So that's one thing, one part of the operation of my channel is trying to monetize things beyond ad revenue, because if I want to do this full time or more and more full time, I'm still not at anywhere near the level, although don't get me wrong, my channel brings me revenue and brings me income. It's no great secret. You can go onto something like Social Blade and see exactly how much money I'm earning each year. It's not a secret, but it's not enough for me to just do YouTube on its own. I need to do those kind of brand deals and so on. One, it's a great way to stimulate content, but also it's a revenue stream, and I think it's a value to you guys. But let's talk about this whole car YouTuber versus journalist thing. Come on, slow coach. Come on, tank. Good girl. A bit cloudy today, isn't it? At the beginning of my YouTube journey, I'm not so sure I set out necessarily to be a car review channel, and I'd like to think I'm a little bit more than that anyway. I do a lot of car reviews, for sure, but I do other stuff, lifestyle stuff, motorsport stuff. But when I started to review cars, I did that from the starting point of just being a normal person that loves cars. I have a deep love of cars, a deep love of driving. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good driver. I'd like to think I'm a pretty good, I've got a good feel for a car. And then most importantly, I'm a good explainer, a good orator. I can describe how things feel. And for me, those are they're the characteristics you need to review a car, right? So I never really got into this journalist YouTuber thing for a long time, probably until I went to my first press drive or my first press launch. And at those events, you get YouTubers and you get what I would call a traditional automotive journalist. And there is a little bit of friction between the YouTube community and the automotive journalist community. And I'm not going to get involved in mudslinging, but there's plenty of grief comes our way about whether we should even be there in the first place at a car review or a car launch or some kind of press drive. My simple answer to that is, well, the audience, the car buying audience, behaves in a different way today than it did 10 years ago. 10 years ago, if you were going to look for a car, you'd probably buy a whole bunch of car magazines and Auto Trader, and you'd make your decision from that. Today, you don't. People go on to YouTube and they look for car reviews on YouTube. That's where the eyeballs are. And there are, don't get me wrong, what I would consider to be really great automotive journalist type YouTube channels. I'm thinking of people like Rory Reid at Auto Trader and Matt Watson at CarWow, and they are kind of go-to channels. And I must say, Rory, since he's been at Auto Trader, is just doing an amazing job. And then you've got Henry at Carfection. That, I mean, those guys for me, they are the benchmark of what we do. But then there are other normal automotive lovers, people like me, Joe, Steph, JM on cars, those types of guys. We just give you an opinion from a normal perspective. It's not biased, it's not in any way aimed at only saying things that brands want us to say. That's just not how it works. And that's what I do when I go on a car launch. But when we get to a car launch, man, do we have to work hard. It's raining, girls, it's raining. Look! Ugh, you know, I said I was walking through a cloud. that cloud's now decided to deposit its content on me. It's raining, it's really not very nice. But yeah, you know, when we get to one of these car launches, the hardest working people at a car launch are the YouTubers. Because, you know, a written press journalist will drive a car and then make some notes and then go back home and then write up their impressions of the car. We have to create content there and then, and normally we create content there and then, and it's live on YouTube within 12 hours, because that's how YouTube works. The first to the market, the first video out there is, generally speaking, the one that tends to do well. So when you go to a car launch, the pressure you're under is immense to get some content made that's really good quality. You need to get in the car and really understand the car, and then you need to go and make the content, because the vast majority of us are self-shooters. I am a self-shooter. I shoot everything, I edit everything, and do it all myself. But when you go to a launch and you see someone like Henry at Carfection working, they've got a crew and they work so hard, and they're literally there all day, and then the editing is just unbelievable. So it's really, really hard work. And then I don't really know why. I mean, a journalist for me is someone who goes to journalism school and understands how to write copy and all of those types of things. Are they taught how to review a car? Are they taught what to look for and what not to? Are they taught how to form an opinion? I don't think so. You're not taught that. That's just something that you either have or you don't. That's something you can either externalize or you can't. So, you know, when I go and review a car, I give you my honest opinion. Now, I think the thing that a lot of people think, especially the smaller channels, when you're first starting out, getting really wet here, by the way. When you're first starting out, I think there is a pressure. You think, well, I can't badmouth the car because then they won't give me another car. And I think you get over yourself quite quickly on that one, because if all you do is say amazing things about the car, you don't grow an audience. It's just that simple. I just don't think people believe what you're saying. They don't trust your opinion. And, you know, that for me, I try really, really hard to give a balanced view. My recent Alfa Giulia Quadrifoglio review, I know I've had a load of flack in the comments because the things I didn't like about the car were about things like the tyres, the steering geometry problem. I was told, oh, I should have known about that, do some research. Well, actually, there's a little trick I'll let you into here. Sometimes when you do a review, you drop a little present in the video that stimulates a comment, or you ask a question that stimulates a comment, stimulates interaction with the video, because that's how you get views. I don't do clickbaity titles, but what I'm quite happy at doing is creating some kind of conversational thing in the video that people start to interact with you on, and that's how you generate views. But yeah, I just give you my honest opinion. So I find it really challenging when people question whether or not YouTubers should be at car launches, because the audience is on YouTube and people go and watch. I certainly do. I'll watch a number of different channels, get a number of different opinions. I relate to a particular type of audience. I'm 48 years old. My audience typically, sorry guys, most of you are slightly older than some of the younger YouTubers, and I'm certainly not one of these YouTube channels that just buys a car every 3 minutes, wraps it and then sells it for no good reason. That kind of content just drives me insane. I think it's irresponsible. I think it's completely ill thought through, and I just don't understand why people even watch it, to be honest, naming no channels. You know, I'm a real person. I've got a mortgage, I have to earn money, and I buy cars with my own money, and therefore when I review a car, I want to do it. I have to swap my hand here. Going on for one. It's really very not nice weather. You know, I want to review a car and analyze it for a normal person that hopefully you guys can relate to, and for me that's how it works. And then the proof is in the pudding, and the proof is, if you think I can influence people to buy a mug or a piece of trim for a car, or a box of beer, they're all relatively cheap items, right? Well, the proof is in the pudding, because I can influence people to buy a whole car, and I can list, I get probably, my gut feel says I think I probably am responsible for the purchase of a Mini maybe every couple of months. I had so many people reach out to me and say, I bought my car, or there was a good proportion of the research, the reason I bought my car is because of you and because of the opinions you gave, and I value that. And brands, car brands know that. The car brands I know with know that if they give me a car that exposes it to an audience that is receptive to that car, and there's a very good chance that I might be able to stimulate sales for them. That's what an influencer does. That's what a car influencer does. And whether you like it or not, don't get me wrong, I know journalists do that as well, but that's why we're there. That's why we get invited to these launches. At the end of the day, the marketing team, as Sam said in his podcast, marketing teams are responsible for getting as many views, as many eyeballs to look at a new product or a new car as possible. And if the eyeballs are watching YouTube videos, you need to give the car or the product to a YouTuber. That's how it works. So yeah, I think my views on that one are quite... Now, don't get me wrong, the last thing to say, and I could do a whole video on this as well. Actually, should I do a whole... Yeah, I'm going to say it. I need to just give my arm a rest though. This weather's horrible. Now, the last thing to say is influencers work if their audience is genuine. And I've worked really hard in 5 years to build a genuine, highly engaged audience. But there are means and ways on Instagram, on YouTube, on Facebook, of effectively buying an audience. And this is especially prevalent in Instagram. You can very easily buy an audience in Instagram. You can have 100,000 followers and be the big I am. And then suddenly you start at these car launches seeing these influencers arrive, and they'll maybe be there and take a couple of Instagram posts to their fake audience, and that drives me insane. And I know I'm not alone on that one. So the challenge I think I have with the word influencer is whether or not it's genuine or not. Whether that audience is an audience that's been a passion project over many years, hours of interacting with you, hours of building a community. Great, brilliant. Or whether I've just bought an audience and I've got 100,000 followers and I post a picture on Instagram and it gets 50 likes. And that, for me, that's the problem with influencers. And the problem is that brands, and even some of the brands I work with, don't see it. They don't understand that actually they're being taken for a ride, and the effectiveness of having that person at a particular event is probably questionable. And that's the challenge for me, is all the good things I've said, all the great things that an engaged audience can do for a brand, be that a car brand or any other, for me is distilled somewhat by people who they kind of, I don't know what's the best word to describe it, they bend the system, they make it work for them, and I just think that's wrong. So anyway, that's my piece. I'm really wet and soaking. I'm going to go home and get a nice cup of tea. But that's my view. Okay, I think I want to try and do more use of my audience for good. I want to try and help, be that, obviously I've helped my best mate recently, but some charities or exposure. I did the work with Future Terrain this year. Commercially it didn't do great on the channel, but I think it was a really interesting piece of content and also created awareness of that amazing charity. So there's plenty of examples where I want to do more of that. But I'm going to finish my dog walk. I would love to know what you think. Put it in the comments below. What do you think of YouTubers, journalists, influencers? I might well have started a big debate here. Anyway, I hope you've enjoyed that one. If you have done so, please give me a thumbs up. Comments below are always welcome, and if you haven't done so already, please subscribe to Petrol for plenty more content to come, and I'll see you on the next video. Does anybody know if a Panasonic camcorder is waterproof? I think I'm testing out that theory. Anyway guys, you take care. Drive safe.